Alright, we're gonna try this again. Call me old man Wade.
Damn you, old man!
Wait.
Old ass man.
Shut up, old man. You smell like fart.
No! Man!
Old man.
He's so old, he got a podcast on cassette.
Fuck, you're old.
Damn it, Wade.
Alright, and welcome to the Old Man Wade Show. I am your host, the God of Stubborn, the Lord of Laughter, Old Man Wade. I'm sitting here with my lovely wife, with her no enthusiasm as always, and off camera this time because I paid attention to her and she decided to move aside because I'm an idiot. And across the way and across the pond, we have the pinnacle of political perfection, the superior, Supa Woke Javi.
What up?
So we decided to do a couple episodes in a day. We talked about Dirty Mackin', and the other one found out that Javi is actually the superior Dirty Mackin'. Or should I call you the dynamic Dirty Macker?
I ain't a dirty macker.
Not anymore. You're a former Dirty Macker.
I never was. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't go after nobody that was married.
Doug,
in a relationship.
You realize this was recorded, right? I can actually pull up the recording and play it back, right?
Yeah, I didn't say I went after them. I said that I would not. I'm not gonna say no. Like, you crazy?
Am I wrong, or was he really talking about how he dirty Mac back in the day? Am I wrong here, Valkyrie?
I don't. I mean, he didn't confirm nor deny his involvement in any
Listen,
kind
all
of
I'm saying is
backing. I
Exactly.
cannot either. I plead the fifth.
Exactly. I'm a good Christian young man right now. Bro.
I fucking can't deal with you.
All right, we're moving on. Speaking of Christian things, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier ended.
I love. What?
Because John Walker is a good Christian boy.
Blue Lives Matter.
You know, Javi,
That
I'm
was
gonna
the theme.
I'm gonna let you lead this topic because what you said was absolutely perfect. So
Yeah.
go on ahead, man.
So, I was thinking a lot about. So, Falcon and Winter Soldier ended kind of in a similar vein as WandaVision did. It didn't really tie up everything. It felt more like an introduction to a bigger story, right? So that's one thing. There were certain things that didn't happen that I kind of hoped would happen. Certain resolutions.
For example,
we can get into that later. But I think one of them would have been the fact that John Walker seemed to have gotten away with murder, essentially killing somebody in public view, and instead of going to jail like most people would have, he got a slap on the wrist, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, he was given back all of his power and authority. And some would argue maybe even more power and authority because he could do whatever he wants outside of the public eye.
I'm going to go a step further and say it's not like he got away with murder. He literally got away with murder.
Yeah. And I think that, again, like we talked about this before, a lot of these Marvel shows really are a reflection of the real world, right? Which these stories exist in. I think that Falcon and Winter Soldier stepped that up a notch, especially when they talked about the relationship between American race. And I think that kind of leaked into what happened with John Walker.
I remember as soon as I watched it, I was talking to this dude at work about it. And the first thing it reminded me of was Anchorman when he goes, Brick killed a guy.
I saw that meme you posted. It was pretty funny.
He did. He killed a dude and nothing happened. You can't be Captain America anymore, John Walker.
Well, he decapitated him with the shield
With
with the American symbol all over it.
It was essentially.
It was so very American.
You mean like that?
It is. How many times have we seen people being murdered by cops?
No, I know.
Oh, no.
It was so very American, but it was like the epitome of what American is.
Or we could take the very iconic picture of a white guy stabbing a black guy with the flag.
Yeah. What happens if Sam Wilson did that, right? Like,
oh God, they would have broke down his house. They would have burnt down the boat, his family would have been in an internment camp.
He would have been sitting right in the raft next to Zemo.
Yep. They probably would have put him in there. You know what? They probably would have put Sam Wilson in there with Zemo, assuming that Zemo would have killed him.
Yeah.
In real life, Zemo would have been like, I feel bad for what America has done to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it spoke a lot. I mean, the fact that it was so good, bro. Like, and I was kind of hesitant. I'm like, are they really like the first couple of episodes when they started touching on like the issues of race and identity, what that means in this country in particular? I was kind of like, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, this is heavy stuff, man. Like, I don't know if they're capable of telling this type of story, but they knocked that shit out the park, bro.
I agree.
And the cherry on top was, the way they handled John Walker's story. I mean, that's just, shit. That's the realest thing I've ever seen in the MCU, to be honest with you.
Because it's actually what would have happened. They'd be like, well, John Walker, you're an American war hero. So what if you killed someone in cold blood in front of a bunch of people in another country? It's okay.
Exactly.
He deserved it. He resisted arrest.
He didn't even kill the right person.
In the middle of committing a crime.
He didn't even kill the right person.
Doesn't even matter, bro.
Oh, what the fuck? Did we discuss this? Oh, yeah, we did discuss John Walker putting hands on the Dora Milaje and getting his ass whooped. I want to talk about you saying Baron Zemo was right.
Oh, for sure.
Why was Baron Zemo right?
Baron Zemo's always been right. He's been right since Civil War.
Why?
And I'm not talking about the comic book version of Baron Zemo. Like, the comic book version of Baron Zemo is just irredeemably evil.
Yeah.
But the MCU version of Baron Zemo, like, he's complex, man. Like, I think that I hate the fact that they wrote in I hate the fact that he was responsible for murdering King T'Chaka. Because I think outside of that, everything he did made sense. And I think seeing the attitude that the people that actually run things have in regard to normal people in the MCU, something that we've seen not just in not just in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we saw hints of that in Winter Soldier when Hydra was essentially the ones in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Like, Baron Zemo, he lost his family to an Avengers team that had all the power in the universe and had little to no oversight, right? Like, his family died because Tony Stark decided that he wanted to create an AI from a super powerful source of energy that was used by the Nazis, right? Like, why did that even sound like a good idea?
So I was on a show called Panel to Panel, and they pointed something out that was kind of funny. In Endgame, after 5 years, everything was still fucked up and everything was still bad. Meanwhile, a lot of good happened during that, kind of showing that, like, Thanos was right. It was one of the things Captain America pointed out. He goes, I saw whales today. And it was like, he's like, are you going to try to tell me the ends justified the means? And so, was it Kylie?
Hey, don't do that.
Huh?
Don't do that.
Don't do what?
Don't compare Zemo to Thanos, man. Listen.
I wasn't comparing the two.
I get it.
I wasn't comparing.
Right.
But let me finish. See, you're
go ahead. Sorry.
Because I wasn't comparing the two. I was just pointing out that something that someone on this podcast I was on brought up, that of how, like, in Endgame they seem to point out just one side of the story as opposed to the idea that what Thanos said may have been true, was like a lot of people did flourish after that, but Endgame specifically just focused on all the negative aspects of it. Was it sad? Absolutely. It's really fucked up, and a lot of people, for at least the next couple of generations, are going to be fucked up about it. But at the end of the day, there was some good that came out of it. And like I said before, Steve Rogers was like, I saw whales today. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the ocean's cleaner. The world is a little, actually the world is probably cleaner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we saw what happened to Italy during COVID when they were seeing sea life that they hadn't seen in decades, and how, like, the air seemed fresher, the water was bluer, because, humanity wasn't around to just be dicks. I think
I get that. I get that sentiment. Again, like my favorite phrase is that it's complicated. I'm not even gonna touch that. Because sometimes the ends don't justify the means. But I think in Baron Zemo's very particular case, like his whole thing was he wanted to fight extremism, right? Fascism. Like he was obsessed with Hydra, not because he wanted to join Hydra, it's because he wanted to crush Hydra. He was obsessed with the Avengers, not because of some evil plot to control the world. He just thought that it was wrong that individuals with that much power can go around and do whatever they want. Like they were gods among men, right? Like even in Falcon and Winter Soldier, as much of a sort of asshole he was, like he respected people that earned his respect, but he had zero tolerance for evil people. Like like the guy that wanted to reboot the Winter Soldier program, the Super Soldier program, he shot him dead in the head. Not because he's evil, it's because this guy had the keys to potentially destroy the world. Man.
You sound.
I don't know. I can't fault him again, other than killing King T'Chaka, which I hate when writers do that. Like they have to make the person do something extremely evil so we don't fully sympathize.
Was it Honest Trailers did a really good one about that, discussing Killmonger, and it was like, wait, have him beat up an old lady so we remember that he's the bad guy here. Yeah, like you have to, like, you in order to make someone who kind of makes sense in a like a moral stand, right? Like you don't want, you really need them to look bad compared to the hero of the story, so you have them do something extremely despicable. See, this is one of the reasons why I have issues with the relatable. Like we have too many relatable villains. Like I miss villains who were just evil. Like, it's okay for someone to just be for your antagonist to be somebody that you absolutely hate. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, we don't necessarily need to like. We didn't need to like Thanos. Guy was a dickhead. He was a murderer. He was the literal definition of a genocidal maniac.
No, Thanos was Hitler, bro.
Yes. You know what I mean? Was Killmonger right? In a sense. Was he an extremist? Absolutely. He could have just, Killmonger's a little different because I think the story may not have been as dope if Killmonger wasn't who he was. But you don't need a villain to be someone you understand in order for them to be likable and memorable.
Well, that's why I like the show format. I think you made this point before, like having these stories play out on multiple episodes allows for a more complex story to kind of like play itself out. So the Flag Smashers, right? Like as I don't know, lack of a better word, honorable their goals were, you saw the effect that the Super Soldier Serum had on their impulse control, right? And you saw how desperation, depending on the type of person you are, can turn you into an extremist, right? Like, at the end of the day, they were doing things that were just, you can't sympathize with them. You can sympathize with the people that they're saying they're fighting for, but the Flag Smashers were terrorists, right? Or you look at John Walker, right? Like, he wanted to be Captain America, but he didn't understand that Captain America didn't even want to be Captain America. All Captain America wanted to do was fight the good fight. He didn't want to be a leader or somebody that people follow. He just wanted to do what was good, and that was his ethos. But for John Walker, he wanted to be a leader, and you saw how that mixed with his very obvious issues with PTSD kind of created a madman, right? Somebody with no impulse control, someone that just lost it over the course of time, right? And then you had somebody like Baron Zemo and I think he benefited from the fact that he wasn't the quote unquote villain, because we can see the complexity in his methods and why he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and the fact that despite all of that, he still had to pay for the crimes that he committed. Like, Wakanda wasn't going to let him get away with killing their king, regardless of, how much of an anti-fascist he was, right? So, like, I think that, stories like this, as complex as they are, really do benefit from having this kind of long format storytelling.
Valkyrie, what do you think of the show in general? Actually, no, before we get to your opinion on the show, what do you think of the ending with John Walker, like, basically having no repercussions for anything that he did?
I found that problematic, but I understand why they did it, because that's generally what happens, right? If somebody serves and protects in this country, automatically they're exempt from any kind of punishment or omission of, guilt or wrongdoing. I feel like he definitely should have not have been let off easy. And I'm sure, I don't know the comic, but I'm sure he probably shows up again somewhere down the line. Even worse than, before. I assume, am I assuming correctly?
Yes, you're assuming 100% correctly.
Yeah, so, I guess a lesson will be learned, maybe.
I just honestly, I agree with that, but I also I think a lesson will be learned, but it won't be learned the next time we see him. It'll be something that happens when he realizes that Allegra, something, Valentina DeFontaine uses him and he doesn't realize he's being used. And then he dies because of something she did. I don't think he understands that he's being used and how often he has been used. He's been used since he signed to join the military. They pretty much just use him as propaganda. They use him. What was it? The Battlestar said to him when they asked him, like, were we good guys? And he was just like, we were basically just following orders.
Yeah, and I think we're yet to see a lot of his backstory. We're definitely going to see more of him in the future of the MCU. And maybe they'll expand. Maybe, I told myself I'm going to stop guessing when it comes to this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, initially I thought that maybe he was, like, created by Hydra or Shield or something at some point, and his whole life was kind of just crafted to be like some all-American person. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I wonder about it sometimes, but I wouldn't be upset at a four-part U.S. agent thing showing what he's doing, what he's going through, and some of the stuff that happened to him in the past. As long as they don't paint him as this innocent victim, when we both know that even though he was following orders, he has to feel bad about some of the things that he's done. You know what I mean? Like,
well, can he be both? Can he be both a victim and guilty? Right?
Absolutely.
Like, I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Valkyrie, what do you think about the show as a whole?
I actually liked the show. I didn't think it was horrible. And I usually don't like Captain America, so that. Maybe it's just
Steve Rogers.
Yeah, I don't know. I overall really liked it. I think,
would you? And again, I had one issue I did say I did have was with the ending. I was talking to one of my former editors, and we discussed how much we both enjoyed the ending, but there were definitely some faults in between that. It just, the way he described it is the best way I've heard him say it. It didn't land correctly. Mm-hmm. It seemed kind of rushed. It seemed like there could have been more to it, and it just didn't. I had a conversation on CCBN, me and Black Rabbit. Never mind. No, too late now. Me and Black Rabbit did an impromptu podcast, and we talked about it. And one of the things that I was kind of wishing happened was when Sam flew in the window and beat up those guys. He was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Captain America," and kept walking. I said, it would have been nice for that to have been a more dramatic moment. Maybe do the pan up thing and all that. But Diddy goes, it's a trope that they use way too often. So I said, okay. But then it led me to go, maybe if they didn't use it so often, they could have used it here. And a lot of it just didn't it didn't fall correctly to me. It didn't have the the that I really wanted from it. Now, granted, I liked the ending. I teared up during Sam's speech. I thought a lot of it was beautiful. I thought the idea of him, the idea of making sure that Isaiah Bradley had a statue in this place was also amazing. But there were, I think, some missteps in the final episode. But overall, I thought the series in general, I think was probably like an 8, I would say.
Yeah, that's a fair rating. I give WandaVision. I don't want to give it a better rating than WandaVision. I think in general, WandaVision was just a better executed show.
I agree.
I think that final episode, my biggest beef with that final episode was that it was so damn dark. Like, you're going to introduce his new outfit in the dark? Like, seriously? I mean, I don't know. That was my main issue with it. I just couldn't, whatever. I thought that was a lazy way of just getting it all done without having to do too much. But again, I think these shows are really just trying to introduce the next phase of the MCU. So I'm not going to knock on it too bad.
Yeah, I can't wait for Loki.
Yeah. Because think about it, Marvel didn't have to do this. Like, they didn't have to give us these shows. They could have just put out movies.
But these shows equal more money.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, in a way they do, in a way they don't, because people are still paying for,
Oh, no. They're making their money off of merchandise. They make, like, toys, T-shirts.
Yeah.
That's where they're making their money off of this shit. And then plus you're going to get the people who have specifically signed up for the Marvel catalog. Like, I don't give a shit about the Disney catalog. I'm on Disney Plus for the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, facts. And I think, well, for me, Marvel and Star Wars. But
Star Wars stuff too. Yeah, true that.
I look at these as kind of super extended trailers for what's to come. So that's kind of how I look at it. So I like your score. I'll go with the 8.
So, some funny news. For some of you who haven't who have been hiding under a rock, there was an act of terrorism on the Capitol in January.
Wait, what?
I know, right?
Wait, people actually invaded the Capitol? Like, what?
I know. Who would think something like that would happen? Here's a funny story for you that made me laugh hysterically. The Justice Department has charged a Capital Rioter who was turned in by someone he matched with on the dating app Bumble after he bragged about his exploits on January 6th. According to the court documents, 1 week after the attack, Robert Chapman of New York told one of his Bumble matches that I did storm the Capitol and said he made it all the way into the Sanctuary Hall. He also claimed that he was interviewed by members of the media. The Bumble user replied, "We are not a match."
That's hilarious.
Prosecutors said that the user quickly reached out to the FBI and provided screenshots of the conversation. Investigators said that in court filings that they have corroborated Chapman's claims by comparing the Bumble profile picture to the body cam footage of police officers who were inside the Capitol. Chapman was charged with 4 misdemeanors, including disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. He hasn't reached a plea, and his lawyer didn't want to respond to requests for comment on the charges. According to the screenshots in the court filings, Chapman also posted to Facebook before January 6th insurrection that he was traveling to the District of Criminality, referring to Washington, D.C., and on the day of the attack, alleged posted, "I'm fucking inside the Capitol." Incriminating social media posts like these have become a hallmark of the Capitol riot investigation. In dozens of cases, prosecutors quoted rioters' posts from Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Parler, which doesn't exist anymore, Snapchat, and other sites were bragging about their alleged crimes. More than 390 people have been charged with the federal crimes in connection with the attack. This is the greatest shit ever. Valkyrie, do you have any comments on that?
I mean, I think it's hysterical that somebody turned him in, and it was definitely the right thing to do. How embarrassing is it to be turned in off of Bumble? I thought that was good.
Supa Woke, your thoughts?
Yo, this is a story that just keeps on giving. It's great. And the thing is, it's these people are so proud of what they did that they're so willing to snitch on themselves. And federal prosecutors are like, yes, give me, please. Like, it's just so beautiful. Like, I don't know. It's a great story. It's a great heartwarming story. I think the person that snitched on him should get the Medal of Honor or whatever the hell, like the Presidential Medal of Freedom or whatever the hell you give people doing great things. And, guys, if you invaded the Capitol, just keep snitching on yourself. You're creating great content. Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta say, to quote a great philosopher, I want to make sure I get his name right. To quote a great philosopher, Trevor Tahim Smith Jr., give me some more. Give me more of this, please, please. I would laugh if all of them went to jail. My favorite of this was the dude who flew back home to Hawaii, and as soon as he get off the plane, he's arrested and flown right back to D.C. Yo, imagine that shit. You fly 10 hours to DC to start the shit, and then think you're going back home to paradise just to get off the plane to fly 10 hours back to go to jail.
I love it.
Oh, fuck.
I love it. They were just so proud to do it. Like bro, people are stupid.
Dog, it's arrogance, man. It really just comes down to arrogance.
I agree.
We got another. This is a good one on positive news. Manhattan. Well, that was actually positive news as well. Manhattan stopped prosecuting prostitutes. Part of nationwide shift. The district attorney Cyrus R. Vance Jr. moved to dismiss thousands of cases dating back decades amid a growing movement to change the criminal justice system against prostitution. Cyrus said, "Criminally prosecuting prostitutes does not make us safer." Adding that doing so often has an effect on further marginalization's vulnerable New Yorkers. Oh, I have to sign in or subscribe, but I don't care enough to do all that. I think we've had this conversation on here before. I think all of us here are cool with sex workers as long as they're being safe.
Yes. I see no issue. Like, if everything is consensual and everything is fair and everything, like any other job, there should be like guidelines and restrictions. Like, you should have to be tested. Like, you should have, a certain, just to keep the public safe from any health conditions or to keep the workers safe from any health conditions. Like, it's just a smart idea. But other than that, if it's all on the up and up and nobody's getting, these women aren't getting fucked over, murdered, or treated poorly, I see no problem with it. None whatsoever.
Before I get to you, Javi, let's see. It said on Wednesday, April 21st. I may have got the date wrong. On Wednesday, Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance announced that his office would no longer be prosecuting prostitutes and unlicensed massage arrests, and that it would be dropping 914 cases dating all the way back to the 1970s. The office also moved to dismiss more than 5,000 loitering for the purpose of prostitution cases, which stemmed from the highly controversial, which is something I didn't know about, walking while trans statute, which was replaced last February. So, and declining to prosecute prostitution cases, New York City has joined the cities like Baltimore, which have made similar announcements in the wake of ongoing discussions about sex work decriminalization and criminal justice reform. And many sex workers' rights advocates applaud the shift. Yeah, so I'm for this. I think this is dope. I think this is a good idea. And at the end of the day, as long as someone's being safe, then I don't have any issue with this at all. Like, you know what I mean? I just hope that everything is consensual. I hope that everyone is doing this up on their own free will. I think that it would be nice for... here's a good question. Supa, what are your feelings on unions?
Unions? Like workers' union?
Yes.
Depends.
I was going to say it's a gift and a curse.
The reason I ask because, like, you have sex workers who it would be a good idea for them to have, like, a union so they can get regular checkups, they can have health care, things of that nature. Because in an industry like that, you'd assume that there are going to be nasty and dirty and disgusting people who are going to...
Well, where are they going to get it from, though, right? They're independent contractors.
Yes.
They're not working for a company. It's like hairdressers. Hairdressers are independent contractors. They don't get insurance through their company. They
Hairdressers,
waitresses,
the WWE professionals, WWE wrestlers, even though they're $1 billion corporation, they're independent contractors. Like, I'm an independent contractor.
they can afford healthcare, though.
They can, but it's just an idea. Like,
your average person on the streets is not affording healthcare.
I'm just using it as an example. Like, I can't quit my job and be like, hey, I'm a writer and I don't have healthcare. Like, you know what I mean? I just can't do that.
Honestly, if they made sex work illegal, it would help them get on the up and up to have better pay, to be able to have things like insurance and take days off and whatnot.
Yeah. Supa Woke Javi had to take off. He's got some things to do. He has a life, so he had to go. But I want to thank him for joining the Old Man Wade Show. Don't forget to find us on the Old Man Wade Show page. On Facebook, you can find him on Let Shit Record. On Twitter, you can find me on oldmanwade.com on Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget to check out blackrabbit.com, BLAQUERABBIT, for articles. Don't forget to check out the Culture Comic Book News podcast, which is available on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. And don't forget to visit oldmanwade.com for articles and more. For myself, Valkyrie, and the Superior Supa Woke Javi. Peace.
Damn it, Wade!